Built Forward Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you're on the free Odyssey app. Good Monday morning. It's the last day of June. The Mets had their worst weekend, lopsided score-wise, in the history of their organization against one of the worst teams in baseball. Team meeting Saturday, get blown out again on Sunday. The rotation that was such an unbelievable part of this team, and I guess it really was unbelievable because it didn't last, has now completely fallen apart with the injuries and guys just not performing any longer. And yeah, I mean, there's still technically, if the season ended today, they'd be in a playoff spot, and they're a game and a half out of first, and it's not as if they are buried in the division, but it's just so ugly. 13 out of 16. The offense stinks. The pitching stinks. They're lifeless. They're trying to figure it out. Team meeting last year worked. Obviously didn't work the first time this year. So I know we do this whole thing about we learned a lot last year and not burying the team, and I'm certainly not doing it, but this was completely unacceptable for a team that has a payroll that high and stars on this team like that. You can never get your ass whipped by the Pittsburgh Pirates 30-4 over a weekend. It's just completely unacceptable if you're Carlos Mendoza, David Stearns, and Steve Cohen. Got a bunch of other stuff, including some weird LeBron wording yesterday that makes me think that he might be going somewhere else. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. No, he actually opted into his contract.
Yeah, I know, but if you see,
so we'll talk about that.
No.
I got to tell you, as a Met fan, I'm not happy this morning at all, man. I'm actually disgusted. Yesterday, I put out a post on X, and I basically said, hey, some Met player has to throw their glove into the stands because I think it's where it all started last year. That was the low point.
Yeah, it was part of it.
And I think I don't know, maybe that was the game where Gary said, "Oh, this is the low point of the Mets season." There's always a new low point, and this is the ultimate low point for a lot of different reasons. The Pirates had 32 wins going into this series. They come out of it with 35, obviously sweeping the Mets 30-4. What's really disgusting about all of this stuff is that the New York Mets have a payroll of $325 million. Just think about that for a second.
I think about it all the time, Boomer.
$325 million. And the Pirates, and this is all according to Spot Track, have a total payroll of about $90 million. The Mets have $68 million on the injured side of the ledger. The Pirates have about, I think, $8 million on the injured side of the ledger. When you think about the difference in total payroll, is $235 million. And then the active differential in payroll is about $176 million. That is a disgrace, what they just did in Pittsburgh. And I don't know, and I was thinking about this. There was a time when the living legend himself, the great Paul Brown, was running the Bengals. And when he ran the Bengals, you think they're tight now. They were really tight back in the day.
Money-wise, you're talking about.
Yeah, money-wise, and just he never wanted to make it easy for the players. And that was, that's part of who he was as a coach in the 50s and the 60s. He was a hard-ass coach, and he always wanted to make it difficult for the players. And when we had two-a-days, and he was the owner, he wasn't my coach, but when he was the owner, he would be around out there on the football field watching about how we would do things, and everything was just as barren as possible. It was as miserable. It was hot. The sleeping conditions were terrible. I mean, it was almost like he put you in prison for 5 weeks during two-a-days. And he wanted to make you tough. He wanted to make you compete. He wanted to make you hungry. And I was thinking that, have the Mets lost that, because of the amount of money and the way that Steve and Alex Cohen treat the team? We heard a lot about how the family members really love being a part of the Mets because of the way, they think about family first and all of that. And that is great. And then I was thinking, I'm sure the Dodgers do the same thing. I'm sure maybe the Yankees don't do it quite as good as the Mets, according to Juan Soto, but I would say that, most of these teams that spend this amount of money treat their players like they walk on water, and they take care of them, especially their superstars. So you have three Met players that are basically making the most money per year at their position, almost the most, at shortstop, maybe, I don't know, there could be somebody a little bit more than Francisco Lindor. First base, highest paid player. Right field, highest paid player in baseball. You have these guys and then have to have a team meeting. And I was listening to a couple of things yesterday. One was when Ronnie went into talking about ice cream sandwiches. When he goes into talking about ice cream sandwiches, the team sucks. And they look like crap on the field. And it looks listless. It looks bad. And and I texted him, of course, because I'm annoyed by the whole thing. So I have to let it out to somewhere, and so I end up texting him, and I do apologize, Ronnie, if I was a little bit overboard, but I'm sorry. You're the guy that I got to let it out to. And number two is that when you think about a players only meeting, and you have young players mixed in with older veterans making a lot of money. I mean, and then the manager tries again, what gets thrown out in game 2 of this series just to try to ignite this team. It is about as bad as I can remember. But here's why it's so bad, is because this team has real expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I also think, too, the old adage is you're only as good as your next game's starting pitcher, and the Mets can have all their team meetings. Mendoza can get thrown out, but if Frankie Monttos goes on to the mound the next day and looks like that, then they have no shot, especially when they're in a losing streak, and then they're down 1 million runs when you blink an eye, and you're like, oh, my God, here we go again. That's really been the issue more than anything.
Well, Peterson was terrible on Friday night, too, but I would just say that, the pitching staff, since you and I talked about it about 2 weeks ago, has gone through
it's
hell and back, the amount of injuries
awful.
And then bringing guys back. But, in regards to each individual player, Peterson's got to get his act together. He's got to be the guy right now with Senga and, of course, Minaya out. As far as Montos is concerned, there is something really wrong with him. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me today that they're going to, shut him down. I mean, there's something.
You think physically, you're saying?
Yeah, there's something wrong with him.
I mean, he was really good in his first start.
Yeah, 5 innings. I mean,
for him, we all thought he was going to get crushed, and he didn't give up a run.
But now he got crushed, just like he got crushed down in the minors in his rehab assignment. There's something wrong with him, and I mean that is like, it is. And even Mendoza, after the game, was really frustrated when talking about him and talking about his pitching. You could see that he was disgusted and frustrated. I mean, that's one player. That's, he pitches one game or pitches 4 innings in one game. And, of course, when you get down that many runs that early, now all of a sudden the, here we go again sets in, as opposed to fighting back. And, this Mets team early in the season, they had a reputation that they could come back in any game. And I'll never forget, how basically impenetrable Citi Field was for them. And after these wins, whether it be Pete Alonso or Francisco Lindor or Jeff McNeil or Brandon Nimmo, talking about, man, we never give up. We always fight. We always come back. We always work hard. We're never out of any game. I mean, these 3 games, they were out after the 3rd inning, for God's sake. And for that amount of money and for, everybody that's involved with this team right now, that is an absolute, and, I'll take a word that your buddy Joe Beningo used to use all the time. That is a disgrace. 100% would be the way that he would describe all of it. And when you're making that much money and you look like that and you're getting blown out and you can't get a key hit, I mean, you leave men on base. I mean, it's so much more than just the pitching.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are the second worst team in either the National League or all of baseball with getting runners in scoring position. I mean, it is as bad as it gets. Now, the pitching,
what they're paying Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo and, of course, Juan Soto to do?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're paying them to do?
I don't know, man.
Somebody's, I even hate to say this, too. I mean, Mendoza has to take ownership of this as well. I mean, he's the manager, and we all like Carlos. We all love him. Right?
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
Well,
I'm talking to you.
Yeah, every time I started to talk, you'd cut me off, so I figured I'd just let you go.
I'm pissed?
Yeah, I know. I could tell. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop talking and trying because it doesn't matter. So that's why. It was sort of like when I argue with my wife sometimes. It's like, you know what? There's no point in trying. So I'm just going to let you get it out. So I decided to scroll a little bit until you were done. That's what I was doing.
It's out. It's out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, if you listen back to it, you know exactly.
I know. I understand what you're saying.
I was trying to get in there.
I understand what you're saying.
I was like, maybe I should take today off. I can go home. I got stuff I could do.
I'm so lit up this morning.
Yeah, I got stuff.
I'm sorry.
We had a party yesterday. I could clean up the stuff. It's a nice day. Could have gone to the beach.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
And I do appreciate you allowing me.
I am. That's what I'm doing right now.
To have my 5 minutes of just
5,
10. He said, it's been 10 minutes
Yeah.
of just letting loose.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, like, is today going to be the day that you lose it? And it certainly is a great reason to, because of how pathetic it's been. So this is the thing that's scary to me, is that they're trying everything and none of it's working. That's the thing that's scary to me. Mendoza, I'm going to get thrown out. Doesn't work. Let's have a team meeting. Doesn't work. And the pitching is so horrendous that trying to get back on track when even the guy who was your most solid pitcher now stinks, and David Peterson in his last few starts have not been like him. So now you've got that, but there's no excuse for the offense to be this bad. So, like, if you're going to have as miserable of a starting pitching as you're having, because there's injuries and David Stearns does the rotation the way that he does, but the excuses that there's no excuse for a team, as you mentioned, going through the entire lineup, highest paid guy, someone, MVP discussions and leading the league in homers, to go into a hole like this against one of the worst teams in baseball. So, yeah, I mean, it's ugly, it's bad, and then you somehow look up and they're only a game and a half out of first place and still in a playoff spot, which is wild.
Baseball, and we got to go through this crap, and I'm sick and tired of saying, oh, it's going to happen. So we know it's going to happen. We know it.
No, I don't know it's going to happen anymore. I don't know it's going to happen anymore.
No, but
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't know that they're going to turn it back around anymore.
Carlos Mendoza said it last week. We know that there's going to be adversity, and then they come back and they win the final 2 games against the Braves, and all of a sudden everything was, hunky dory and and wine and roses, and then they go out to Pittsburgh and get their asses handed to them. So how do you beat the Braves? The final 2 of your series at home, and then go to Pittsburgh and get your asses handed to you. How does that happen?
Well, I'll tell you.
Because it's baseball season.
No. I think a lot of it. Well, first of all, they had their first ever favorable pitching matchup in that Braves series, where they're going against the guy in his second major league start, and then they had the guy who looked like Dog the Bounty Hunter pitching for the Braves in the 4th game of that series. So they were able to get back on track because of that. But it's the starting pitching is terrible.
Can I just say,
when you're this bad, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
If you told me they got shut down by Paul Skeens, I'd go, okay,
yeah,
you got it.
No, I know. I mean, that's why I'm saying the offense.
Paul Skeens pitch?
No, he didn't. No, that's why I'm saying the offense has got no excuse. But really, the problem is, how are you fixing the pitching? How are you fixing that?
Well, we got a pitching lab.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not working anymore. So now all of that's come home to roost, where you have some injuries, you start going deep into the depth that David Stearns thought that he had, and they stink. So now, Griffin Canning, cute story, done. Sean Manaea was supposed to come back, be great. We don't know what the hell's going on with him. Kodai Senga, hurt again. Tyler McGill, hurt. I mean, and now you've got Peterson, who's fallen off a cliff. Paul Blackburn, who is horrendous. Frankie Montas, who you think is hurt, but he's either hurt or just flat out sucks. I mean, the biggest issue about them climbing out of here is there's not a single guy that you hand the ball to outside of Clay Holmes occasionally that you feel like can get the job done. And I mean, Clay Holmes right now is essentially Roger Clemens in his prime compared to these other guys in this rotation. So that is, you want to fix this thing? Fix that.
Yeah, but
and you can't.
Every team
and you can't.
I feel like every team in the league is dealing with the same kind of issues, maybe not as significant as the Mets in terms of their starting pitchers.
You got to remember, they had the best ERA in baseball for 2 months.
I know.
And it's flipped completely around.
But they're also not hitting, man. Come on,
but they're down 1 million runs.
I know, but you can't score. That should have nothing to do with your offense scoring 4 goddamn runs in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And you can hear Gary talking about it. NL East teams have a hard time coming into Pittsburgh. This is the bandbox of horrors for NL. They're trying to propagandize us. And I'm like, I'm not taking it anymore. I mean, I want to see a $323 million payroll live up. Why can the Dodgers live up to their number and the Mets can't live up to theirs?
Well, I mean, the Mets did live up to theirs last year to a certain degree, and then
I'm talking about this year. I mean, they played the crappy early season schedule, and now they're starting. And this is a crappy team they played this weekend.
I mean, one of the worst. They and
the Athletics, by the way, the Yankees and the Mets both playing. And the Yankees horrendously.
Yeah.
getting beat, one of the games versus the Athletics.
You know what's going to happen, too? We're going to watch the Pirates go on a 7-8 game losing streak.
Oh, 100%.
They're not going to beat anybody for a month and a half. You'd be like, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, so here we go. Milwaukee Brewers right into a Subway Series where somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to win in the Subway Series.
Believe it or not, the Yankees are in a better place. You know why? Because they got Max Fried.
Yeah.
That's why. And they got Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
That's why they're in a better place.
That's right.
We got guys who just and I know that they care. And I know Ronnie, again, was trying to explain, the mentality of an athlete and how, yes, professional athletes, no matter how much money they make, can basically, get down on themselves and they can lose confidence. Even the great ones can do that. And it happens when you get mired in slumps and you can't seem to get the key hit at the right time. And I concur with that. I definitely do. But my God, 3 days, 30-4 in runs, and you make $235 million more as a roster.
Yeah,
somebody's ass has got to be held accountable now.
Right, but okay, how? Like when you say that, you're not firing the manager, you're not trading away one of these guys. Are you benching one of your top players? No. So when you say that, what does that mean?
With baseball, the season's way too long. We go through all this crap,
but
and it's
now if they miss the playoffs,
this is mind numbing. Honestly, this is mind numbing.
If they miss the playoffs, then yeah, someone has to be held accountable. But in the middle of the season here, as we go into July, what is it? What is it you do?
It's also
to send a message. There's nothing.
So Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor,
started sending guys down, right? That was it.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Start sending other guys down, make them hold them accountable, like a Francisco Alvarez, or I don't know about Acuna Jr. So much, but they bring Mauricio up. He's fine. He's hitting the ball a little bit. He has a key error. It's like the ball finds a way when you're mired into these losing streaks of finding the wrong guy at the wrong time and the guy making a bad play. Whether it be Pete Alonso throwing the ball to first base to Kodai Senga so he pulls his hamstring. Jesus, God. It's like mind-numbing. And I pray to God as we turn the calendar to July.
Pray to God.
That things change.
Still making the playoffs?
I got to believe yes.
Fleegs, they still making the playoffs?
Yes.
Al, still making the playoffs?
Yes.
They're still making the playoffs.
So why are we doing this to ourselves right now then?
I don't know.
Just to blow off some steam?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. You have to. Because if you don't and it builds up, then it could start dipping into other parts of your life. You bring it home, you don't want to bring it home. You're out there road rage, you don't want to be doing that. You're on the phone maybe with the cable company or something, and you start yelling at the customer service person. It's like, what is wrong with this guy? The Mets are losing. They didn't get it out yet. They didn't lance the boil. You lanced the boil last 18 minutes. You got it out.
All right.
You got to let Mets pus out of your boil. And now we can focus on the next series. One inning, one pitch, one game at a time as they take on the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's well said.
Starting tomorrow.
That is well said.
I'll tell you one thing, though.
What?
If they get swept in that Subway Series, anything's on the table at that point. Then I think Steve Cohen has to turn into old school George Steinbrenner. If this thing continues and they're losing and get swept by the Yankees over 4th of July weekend,
so now
somebody's got to go.
What just happened to
somebody's got to go
against Milwaukee?
Yeah, I know. I did pivot there very oddly. But I'm just telling you that's the point where someone will be held accountable. And I don't know what that is, who that is, but it'll be ugly. But that's not going to happen. They're going to be okay.
I was just pushing the pus out, and now you got me thinking about what the hell is going to happen if they get swept by the Yankees.
Yeah, that wasn't a good job by me there. I'm sorry.
No, I can only handle like one issue at a time.
Yeah.
So can we so we're going back to one pitch.
Right. Let's focus on the Brewers.
Right, against the Brewers. Okay.
Focus on the Brewers.
Right. We're not. Look, there will be a pus buster against the Yankees if they get swept. I'm telling you right now. And one of these young kids better go out and do a slump buster or whatever the hell. Something.
All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Get Jerry in here. His first update of the morning, just getting started. We'll be right back right after this.